Procrastination. I am apparently live. I'm going to share my screen. Yep. All right. So previously in the Evolving Seeds live video about the drop downs, we talked about funding, services, and programs, which is the first drop down, which features such sections as Soap Shop, where we discussed our plant-based, all-natural, handcrafted, excuse me, my wife is very specific about it, handcrafted soaps and other products that are zero waste and all natural. We talked about that. We talked about our free books section, our donations and memberships section, on the ground services, which are services we provide, programs for progress, which are projects and programs we're developing and have developed to tackle things like waste, insecurity, food insecurity in our neighborhoods, programs basically for developing equity and more access to resources. And then Shop Small Business, which is an area that highlights other small businesses that are eco-friendly, zero waste, equitable, more equitable. Like we feature a cell phone, which we kind of highlighted, which makes a cell phone made out of 90 to 92% recycled materials and ethically sourced minerals, etc. But those are the types of businesses we feature. If you are a business that is zero waste, geared towards sustainability, etc., and you think you're a good fit to be featured with us, we do this absolutely free. We do appreciate you shouting us out to your customer base, but you don't have to, and we don't charge anything. We just want people to shop more sustainable and more ethically. And so today we are moving on to highlight the Evolving Seeds Roots section, which features the Evolving Seeds Roots dropdown, which features the active media section, which is a compilation of news syndicates. Most of them I'm not really fond of. I like the Telesur, but it's funded by the Qatar government, which I don't want to deal with any media outlets that are funded by any governments. But as it pertains to supremacy, any news outlet we feature is except Abby Martin, as far as I'm concerned, and the Empire Files. Aside from them, I don't advocate or support any media outlets, news outlets. Not media outlets, news media outlets. But I do use them as a tool to view and observe what the enemy thinks, or at least wants me to think, so I know what they think. So the active media section is like a newsroom. I had called it a newsroom, but it's going to be made up of more than just news from these major outlets, because we do feature the One Great Work Network, but it's not featured as news, current events style news. And then we feature the Activism University, which I'm very proud of, which is what I call and have coined as an informata, which is an information armada, or an armada of information. So this informata basically is a thread. It's just a thread of text that you read. There are included videos that relate to the context in that section and give more light and understanding to the content that the text is talking about. But essentially, it's a stepwise walk through what is, and we are going to be featuring that right now, so I won't go too much into it. But it's a train of thought. It's a thread of thought, which is also an initiation into these concepts, because Evolving Seeds is attempting to imbue people with the resources that they need to become a better person and become a better human being and become a better weapon against tyranny and injustice and supremacy. And we know that comes with different levels. So if you're a beginner, we got that. We got something for you. If you're intermediate, we got that. We got something for you. If you're an expert, we still have a lot for you. And because this is reality, existence, the infinite universe. There's a lot of avenues and topics and discussions and relevant data that is all encompassing. So none of us are ever going to learn all of this. And then there is a health section. So already we have in the Evolving Seeds Root section, we have active media, Activism University, we have a health section. Now, as a caveat right here, we are looking for people, because this is just me and my wife and my kids and a couple of other contributors doing all of this. We appreciate and would appreciate if somebody out there who is someone who's trying to launch a health, an equitable health business organization, small business, eco-friendly, zero waste business. We would appreciate if you don't have ideas for marketing, and if whoever is liking this, I appreciate you. How you doing over there, IG? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. I couldn't see who it was. I have this in a cup. You guys are in a cup. That's how I keep you sitting vertically and looking at me. And here you guys can see each other. Here, say hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi, TikTok. Hi, TikTok. They have very similar voices, don't they? We would appreciate people, if you haven't developed your own marketing scheme for your or a niche for your business, whether it has to do with spiritual development, health, whether you know the law to an extreme extent to where you have information that you can give people, point them in the right direction, and you want to head up our law section, because he who teaches also learns. Quid docet docet, which is a Latin phrase of wisdom. I forgot what they're called. Axiom. He who teaches also learns. And an environmental is, if your activism is hyper focused on the environment and preserving the environment and encouraging sustainability, we would appreciate for you to head up EvolvingSeeds.com's environmentalism section. If you're someone who is a health nut and you don't have to be, you have to know what you're talking about and what you're putting out, but you don't have to be accredited by the system in order to be featured here, and in order to head up these areas of EvolvingSeeds.com. You do have to be able to prove literally almost everything you say. With spirituality and other things, there's a lot of give, but it has to be relatable, relevant, and it has to be practical, etc. Because a lot of these things are already being discussed, but in no practical solutions focused way at all. Just floofly flu, that's a good idea. Floofly flu, bad idea. So we're doing good ideas only, and we're applying applicable solutions. So if you want to head up any of these sections, we also have a mutual aid section that we could use some help with, where we're developing a mutual aid network, but that's for another episode. Episode. So after, we'll go again: active media, Activism University, health, spiritual enlightenment, law, and environmentalism. And we're going to jump right in, right here at the top, with active media. Current Events with the Freedom Current is a weekly YouTube show developed by Conrad Rogos, a member of the One Great Work Network, which EvolvingSeeds.com is also a part of. And every week we feature his new work. I've been slipping because I've been working and I'm very busy, but I feature his work. And it's, even though I'm featuring a later video, I'm not up to date in the videos that I should be featuring of his. Both of the links for his website and his YouTube video are right there above. It's right there above the video that we are featuring at that time. So whether we're late or not, behind or whatever, you do have access to what Conrad and whoever we're featuring is doing right and has done recently. And then where are we in? Oh, and then we feature our TikTok, because obviously we want to feature our media across platforms. And then we go down into what really is still called the newsroom, which is an extension of Evolving Seeds active media section. And the newsroom, here we compare and contrast the world's news as it emerges to present as much true information as possible. We feature as many non-mainstream news outlets as possible, preferably not funded by government and corporate interests. We also try to present news provided from the source, the people being reported on. I don't know who knows this. Before the record, news stands for North, East, West, South. Israel's war on Palestine. So we featured that. This is the Al Jazeera, and this is live. If I click this, it might distort a lot of my internet stuff and go and start showing you what's going on live with that situation. And then, of course, we feature a link to be able to assist with Palestinian, I hope I'm not saying that name, all supremacist, Palestine Children Relief Fund. Which is if I click this, it shouldn't do too much distortion. but it takes you right to one of the most prominent, legitimate disaster relief organizations that there are handling that situation. So you go on down and live news from around the world. This is general news from Africa News, English Live, which is based out of Africa. And for those of us who are a part of the African diaspora, which as here on EvolvingSeeds.com, we recognize that extends to really everybody. We get news. I want to get news directly from Africa and what Africa has to say about news that goes on here, especially with the displays of police brutality that we have here in the United States. So it goes on, Africa Diaspora Live News. Africa News on YouTube brings you a daily dose of news produced by Africans for Africans. Africa News is the first pan-African multilingual media outlet, unique in its conception and concept and vision. And then it has their links, and then it has two videos, one about the Democratic Republic of Congo, and then the other about the Democratic Republic of Congo, but both under different contexts and both speaking on different topics. And then you go on down, live news from around the world. Oh, this was supposed to feature CNN and NBC, and I think it goes on to, yeah. It's supposed to feature the liars so that we can know, as I was saying, what the enemy is thinking and saying, the enemy's narrative, as it says right here. And that is the extent of active media, because essentially we all start knowing what's going on, or at least the news, the quote unquote news that they want us to know. So when you move into Activism University, and I know that I'm going to have to go back and do another feature for just each section in each drop down, and it should be done because some of this is so provocative. I wrote everything you're about to hear. The Activism University, the hierarchy of activism. Activism is the practice of consciously advocating for harmony with regard to environmental equity and equilibrium. Let me say that again. Activism is the practice of consciously advocating for harmony with regard to environmental equity and equilibrium. Environmental equity is for the purpose of perpetuating personal, planetary, cosmic, and even celestial evolution, progression, and equilibrium. When we conceptualize the term our environment, we are not merely speaking of the mysteriously splendid external universe that we inhabit and experience. We are referring to any and all environments that a sentient being may inhabit or experience, and how that environment relates to our emerging self. The task then is to recognize any and as many methods of concise data analysis as possible, utilizing these methods in order to generate environmental understanding and foster environmental awareness is what effective, efficient, real activism is. By applying these methods to the very methods themselves, we can readily see that there is a logical / natural hierarchical structure to organizing and practicing activism. Activism is a profession, and one day I hope it is seen as such. And I hope it is seen as such because of projects like EvolvingSeeds.com. The hierarchy of activism is as follows. 1, activist for truth. I always will forget this one and start with the second one, which is activist for self, because I'm me and I'm a human being, and that's the subjective nature of subjectivity, and it has its place. But full circle, the first tier of activism is for truth, because if there's no such thing as truth, then everything we're working for is for naught. And we could not verify or validate that we were ever practicing effective activism, because data would be meaningless if there was no such thing as truth, because data is components of truth. It's components of data that make it information. It being data that is in the right formation, that is information, is truth. So if I say I'm an effective activist, if I say I'm an effective father, if I say I love my family, I can't prove any of that shit, and still wouldn't be able to prove it in a court of law, no matter how many things I said I did for my family or bought them or how much I loved them or how many times I kissed them. I can never objectively prove that. But it's an example for why it's so important, because we wouldn't be able to prove anything if there's no such thing as objective truth. We wouldn't be able to prove how we are harmed by people who harm and institutions who harm and groups and institutions that harm. We would never be able to prove that. They would never be able to prove the mechanisms by which they wield their tyranny. So how could they prove that you were speeding if there's no such thing as truth? Then speed would be subjective. And even though we might articulate it in a language that is subjective, what we're describing is very objective. Like speed is objective. Whatever you call it, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So whatever 60 miles an hour is in any language, that is what 60 miles an hour is. And if you're saying that I have to pay you because I went faster than that, well, now you got to prove that I was going faster than that. That's why proof and that's why truth. That's why truth is so pivotal and important and fundamental to reality and to professional anything and activism as another profession. So in the hierarchy of activism, we have activists for truth, then activist for self, because you are the first able person to respond for anything that you observe. Activist for family, so as an extension of self. This is all about extensionality. Activist for community, because they're an extension of your family, should be. An activist for planetary host organism, which is your planet. So activist for truth, to inform your activism and your engagements with your environment, because without truth, there'd be no objective consequences that occur in an environment when you don't respect the mechanisms and the structures and the laws. That's the word. I knew there was a more important word I was looking for. The laws that govern those systems. And then you're an activist for self, because you are your first ability. You know, you do this. I'm doing this video right now. I'm making my body do all this. So if it wasn't for me, this would not be happening right now. Of course, TikTok would, and people would be on there, but it wouldn't be me doing this right now, saying these words and putting forth this particular information, which I can assure you, almost probably no one is on TikTok, specifically TikTok. I don't know where I left off, but activists for community and family are extensions of self, because if our family is out of harmony and equilibrium, then their actions and their disharmony and their disarray is more likely to affect ours, which is kind of a selfish way of looking at it, but it's a realistic way of looking at it, because not necessarily going to make you a bad person, but it might put you in a position to step out of your character. And then activists for community is the same as activists for family. And if you recognize certain spiritual and higher truths, then you recognize that we're all family anyway. And then activists for planetary host organism, which is still up for debate, but I don't see how. At Evolving Seeds, personally, this is me speaking as the founder of EvolvingSeeds.com. My wife has not necessarily differing beliefs or understandings when it comes to this, but personally, I see the planet and every planet with life on it as not a necessarily sentient being, but definitely an intelligent being. Its intelligence is not perceivable necessarily to us the same way our cells in our body are not necessarily perceptive of our intelligence, and we have no ability to force our cells to do this or that, our enzymes, the living things that are in our body, but rather we influence them through good health or bad health. So as above, so below. So activists for planetary host organism. And already I have only just started the Activism University, and I'm able to articulate all that and give caveats to further explain it. And it goes into detail. Activists for truth. Maybe I should have just done that. If we fail to cultivate and be possessed by not only the utmost respect, admiration, and even adoration for the truth, which is simply that which has happened and that which is happening, chew on that for as long as you want, but also an adequate appreciation for being wrong, then we will fail ourselves and our purpose. The truth, aka reality, determines the parameters of this shared experience. Without truth, we could not function, especially as a society. Truth is that the human body has certain requirements. We can profess that there is no such thing as objective truth as if it's objectively true. Chew on that as much as you want. However, if we were to ignore any of the truths or principles that manifest as natural laws, then there are relatively predictable and even quantifiable consequences. Without an absolute passion for the pursuit of truth, we cannot properly take care of ourselves or others because any information can be presented as valid and the claims that this data infers could be bogus. Likewise, valid data can be presented and ruled false by the antagonists of the day. This can divert and delay the initiate or beginner if they are not equipped to defend themselves against the false claims or to recognize brilliant truth. The tools and ammunition that we are required to weather the storm of false beliefs, principles, and axioms is the acquisition, appreciation, and application of relevant data. 5 ways to be an activist for truth. Respect, and this isn't all of them, these aren't even the best. This is just what I came up with on the fly. Respect and appreciate being corrected when wrong. Do not take it personal or project on the messenger. 2, seek information and analyze the data objectively to the best of your ability. 3, practice observing all experiences objectively to strengthen your objectivity. Do not drag your past or perspectives into incoming data before you have had the decency to process it. Trust yourself to discover truth in all of its forms. Be confident in the faculties you have been provided with. Have faith in your ability to discern truth from bullshit. Number 5, tell/be the truth, especially when it is difficult. Since there exists no higher physical authority over you, you must radiate truth for the sake of truth. The truth is, the truth will set you free. Activist for self. If we focus only on helping others, then we will not adequately take care of ourselves. If we do not adequately take care of ourselves, we cannot effectively take care of others to our maximum ability. Therefore, it logically follows that in order to be an actual activist for anything or anyone, we must have our own houses in order. If we do not have a concrete foundation of principles, axioms, and healthy habits, then we are doomed to a state of conscious oblivion. Intersectionality as defined. The interconnected nature of social categorizations, such as race, class, and gender, as they apply to a given individual or group, regarded as creating overlapping and interdependent systems of discrimination or advantage. This is a Google definition, and intersectionality is a noun. Through an awareness of intersectionality, we can better acknowledge and ground the differences among us. That's a Google sentence. At the level of novice activist, we should be able to identify and relate in which ways causes and concerns, or quote unquote movements, coverage as intersectionality, converge as intersectionality. Theoretically, any form of large-scale social intersectionality can be related back down to the individual. For instance, socioeconomic discrimination could be applied to how many of us treat our bodies, favoring and really appreciating and caring for some parts of our body over others. Some parts of our bodies are granted unlimited resources, while other parts of our body are abused and pushed to their limits for their resources. In this way, we can begin to detect our activism responsibilities to ourselves. By once again employing our tools of the scientific method, we can truly analyze and not only ask, but answer the question, what do I really want? What does my body, what does my human body/life really need? Who am I? What is my purpose? Where am I in my various levels of development? Am I satisfied with myself and what I contribute to humanity? Why do I keep going? And finally, how to move forward practically and in full cognition. I should add the word right there, intentionally. For the neophyte or even the novice activist, it is incumbent upon us to define, respect, and appreciate each aspect or level of activism for self and its many intersecting components. This is what is known as the holistic approach. This has very little to do with holistic medicine, which is associated and has its merits and benefits, which is associated with this term of holistic that I'm using and has its merits and benefits, and more to do with I'm gonna read the sentence again. This has very little to do with holistic medicine, which is associated and has its merits and benefits, and more to do with the components or quantum physics of our individual psyches, our relative atomic health, our relative anatomic health, our social conduciveness, our spiritual understandings, and the various branches of those components, such as the various types of consumptions we engage in that affect our various forms of health, which all affect our overall health. When looking for which way to go on the path of self realization, it is beneficial to look to the Hermetic principles, namely the principle of correspondence, which states, quote, as above, so below. The health of our internal and external body is your highest priority. Did I say our? The health of your internal and external body is your highest priority as an activist for yourself. This breaks down in two ways: physical health and metaphysical health, mental. Uh, what is beneficial or harmful to your physical body? What is beneficial or harmful to your metaphysical body, namely your mind and spirit? Your physical, mental, and spiritual health is almost entirely based on consumption. Let me read that again. Your physical, mental, and spiritual health is almost entirely based on consumption. What you consume on a daily basis, even why and how you consume, can play a huge role in the various ways your health is influenced and expressed. In addition, what we consume is the content of what we are. In other words, we are what we eat. The diligent activist, even with fault and failure, quote unquote, must continue to strive for the sole consumption of the purest nutrition, content, and data. All of this is information. Information is not just info or information, it is also in formation with that which is empirically true and in accordance and harmony with the natural law. To inform you that my favorite fruit is cantaloupe, but I am also mildly allergic to it, is true information. It's data. That is information with that is in formation with the natural law. But what can you do with it? Aside from knowing me that much better, nothing. It is irrelevant. The wisdom of the activist is readily knowing the difference between information and data, no matter how true or false, and whether or not it is relevant to anything in your life or the progression of it. The various systems that function in our bodies are almost unilaterally interdependent on each other. Eating, quote, healthy food while consuming large quantities of alcohol will obviously and inevitably lead to poor health and even illness. Even less obvious is the relation toxicity in the human body has to toxic or traumatic experiences, upbringings, thoughts, emotions, actions, principles, axioms, beliefs, and habits. Axiom as defined: a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evidently true. The axiom that supply equals demand, money makes the world go round. These are axioms. They don't have to be true or not true. It just means that somebody accepts them as true, like without question. Shadow work. The most logical place to start then is an analysis or a diagnostic of our own physical and metaphysical makeup and conditioning. Then, following logic, it would be consistent to diagnose the mind in relation to what you know and or feel is true about yourself and the world around you. Are you in a mental place to address what place you're set? Let me read that again. Are you in a mental place to address what place or set your mental state is in? If so, you are readily capable at this time to identify inconsistencies in your reasoning and beliefs that can be reasonably presumed to be harmful and therefore false. Are you at this time able to concrete Are you at this time able to take concrete steps to begin the shadow work of facing your false ego? Are you able to make the necessary changes in your life that would greatly benefit all? Ultimately, if the answer is no, or you sense some hesitation to make that large of a commitment to yourself and to all things and beings, you may want to ask yourself, why? What is it, and what is that hesitation, and where does it come from? What traumas have you suffered in your formative years, and your adolescence? How have you traditionally dealt with these traumas? Have you ever considered how any trauma could have affected your development? Have you encountered thoughts, emotions, or behaviors that would indicate that you have experienced trauma that society at large may not consider trauma? And so you have not explored the healing for it. Have you been heard in your home and within your family? Are you nurtured by others rather than harvested? In the end, honestly facing why the answers to these questions are as they are is key to unlocking our activist nature. And so let me read that sentence again since I kind of butchered it. And it's really important. Are you nurtured by others rather than harvested or ostracized for whatever you think or say? In the end, honestly facing why the answers to those questions are as they are is key to unlocking our activist nature. If you have suppressed your activism, then you have suppressed yourself. Ask yourself why and for whom and to what end. Are your most cherished accomplishments empty and manufactured? Has any struggles you overcome been an utter waste of time, energy, money, and other resources? What sacrifices of yourself have you made to fit in or avoid rocking the boat? Are you inclined to desire acceptance from society at large or smaller groups within it? The answers to all of those questions and many more form the foundation or lack thereof for the rest of our existence. Understanding the answers to all of those questions does not end the suffering caused by the experiences. Instead, understanding the intricacies of how things happened and happen free you from carrying the burden alone. The pre-existing conditions for your development have been set against you. I'm going to read that again. Both sentences. Understanding the answer to all of the previous questions does not end the suffering caused by the experiences. Instead, understanding the intricacies of how things happen frees you from carrying the burden alone. The pre existing conditions for your development have been set against you, usually by your own family, friends, and culture. Your own inherent biases also inhibit your development because they skew how you view, remember, and even experience experiences. We are not just the sum of, we are not just the sum total of our genetics, upbringing, and experiences. We are also the sum total of all that has come before us. That ancient data, storage, and programming influences how our existence expresses itself. Much of it is trauma passed down genetically, traditionally, culturally. Not only are you asked to address and reconcile your own lived trauma and experiences, but also while perpetually processing the ripples of the splashes that occurred long before you were born. What spirituality has referred to as karma in the context of science is quantum physics. Quantum physics allows us to either track and or reverse engineer any natural phenomenon and recognize and analyze the various components of its causes and effects. Through understanding how natural phenomena unfold or ripple effect into each other, we can better navigate any emerging environments. Our overall health is dependent on how aware we are of and the respect we have for the many interconnected systems within us, ultimately that become our many expressions and external reality. 5 ways to be an activist for self. Practicing harmonizing with yourself, the truth, with others, with the earth. Be present inside of yourself, which is the truth, and for others and the earth. I'm going to read that again because I kind of butchered it, but it says what it says. Practice harmonizing with yourself, harmonizing with the truth, harmonizing with others, with the earth. Be present inside of yourself, which is the truth, because that is where subjective truth becomes what matters. Subjective truth. There really isn't such a thing but your subjective reality That's where it matters and what is true. And if you can find congruence, then you're doing good. If you can't find congruence, which means continuity, which means like cohesion, which means like organization and thoughts that make sense, they don't contradict each other, that's where you find that reflection, that interflection. 2, consume consciously. Do not be consumed by consumption. Be aware of your habits, what you consume, how you consume it, and why you do. Let me read that one again because it's just a beautiful sentence. 2, consume consciously. Do not be consumed by consumption. Be aware of your habits, what you consume, how you consume it, and why you do. 3, exercise at your own pace. Practice a martial art. Keep your body active. Those are obvious. 4, address trauma. Call out those who have harmed you. Forgive, condemn, find closure. You don't have to forgive them, but at least try to, or don't. But whatever makes you not happy about this, whatever makes you happy about, but whatever gives you closure. Do no harm, take no shit. That's number 5. Read that one again because it's important. Do no harm, take no shit. Do no harm, take no shit. Those are the key principles of activism right there in a nutshell. You can shut this fucking shit down. My one viewer can literally leave if you can do no harm and take no shit. You'd be right here with me. Pun intended. And I try to keep this information more edutaining than educational, because it really is not educational. This is reality. I'm just articulating it to the best of my ability so we can all get on one accord. We're going to take a brief smudge break, literally smudge break, spirituality. So give me about 30 seconds. Am I able to pause this? I am able to not pause. Give me about 30 seconds. Do we have any other form of entertainment? Maybe I could put that little thing, that little bird that goes. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, we'll go back to here. Maybe we'll throw on a video. Uh-oh. Okay. My mouse is down thingy is. Okay, so I'm going to go to family next. Family next. Family next. Family. And then there are videos that are in here somewhere, like this one, which is what it really means to be woke. I'm going to just put this on somewhere. I hope it doesn't sound like complete garbage. Oh, look, the Dogan people of Mali. Hope this doesn't sound like trash. Oh, I'm still recording here since nobody's live on TikTok. They repeatedly kick me without me doing anything or saying any of the many censored words. And I don't think YouTube censors this. So on with it. We'll get back up to family. And you see how vast this already is.
Oh, wait. I'm from Chicago, bro. That's cool.
I do apologize. My shit's holistic, so what you see is what you get. Okay.
Activists for family. A lot of this should be pretty obvious by now. Self-evident. Activists for family. Being aware of your own experiences with yourself, your family, and the society at large, you should employ empathy for those around you. Being aware of, see, they have a lot to say about what cannabis does and does not do. And you see, you can't even read anymore. But this is Colorado's kindest. Being aware of your own experiences with yourself and your family and the society at large, you should employ empathy for those around you. Ideally, this empathy would be equally experienced for the experience/suffering of self, meaning you would empathize with somebody equally to how you identify with self and being empathetic about your concerns. So ideally, this empathy would be equally experienced for the experience or suffering of self, family, and others we do not know. However, largely today's environments are not conducive to that end. Consequently, most of us have stronger familial bonds than social ones, which stimulates our activist sense for family more than for strangers. Being an activist for our families is what being a family is. Being engaged in the ongoings and the goings on of our loved ones is essential to the fabric of our collective existence and evolution. And baby girl's up. Here, you gotta go in the other room, baby. That is recording. Come on. I do apologize. If I can edit that out, I will. Being engaged in the ongoings and goings on of our beloved ones. I just butchered that because my daughter reset. So maybe it wasn't the cannabis. Maybe it was just the reset of engagements, things I have to do. Being engaged in the ongoings and I keep saying that. The ongoings, being engaged in the goings on of our loved ones is essential to the fabric of our collective existence and evolution. The bonds that we form with our family is the bedrock of how we form bonds with those in society. Being conscious of ourselves and how we can relate to our families is how we begin to learn how to navigate the many manipulated social proclivities that exist in our environments. Without familial awareness and advocacy, we would all be utterly lost. The powers that be have done their best to destroy strong family bonds within society, more so in the divided states. This is to separate each other and divert one another from equitable communal development. Being concerned about our family's health, wellness, and quality of life is deeply rooted in our psychological makeup. Standing up to those who hurt our families is such a powerful and natural reaction that many people will stand up for their loved ones more ferociously than they will stand up for themselves. By improving our alignment with truth and consciously improving ourselves, we can effortlessly project that into our family members. By being the example, you set the example. Consuming consciously encourages conscious consumption in others. Dating consciously encourages conscious dating in your family members. Conscious living stimulates conscious living in others. 5 ways to be an activist for your family. Communicate, especially when it's difficult. Number 2, engage in their lives and experiences as a family, but also objectively. Immerse yourself in their existence, not as it pertains to you and the relationship you share, but as it pertains to just them. Is that a human? Defend your family against all wrong, harm, and injustice. Be available to commune. Excuse me. Be available to commune, hang out, travel with, engage with, grow with your family, talk, give advice, accept constructive criticism, be a shoulder to cry on, be kind. Activist for community. The one who has adequately done the shadow work to heal themselves and have accepted the responsibility of advocating for themselves as an activist. As an activist for themselves. I love you, baby. Have accepted the responsibility of advocating for themselves and their loved ones should also recognize why being an activist in and for your community is the next logical realm of activism. An activist for themselves and their families would reasonably want to not only be safe in, encouraged by, and embraced in their community, but also to reciprocate those things. The activist would also want to extend their success and goodwill to others in their community while developing stronger social bonds as friends and learned acquaintances. These are the bonds that weather storms, defeat tyrants, and pioneer freedoms. I'm gonna read that sentence, both of those sentences again, because I wrote that and it's just beautiful. The activist would also want to extend their success and goodwill to others in their community while developing stronger social bonds as friends and learned acquaintances. These are the bonds that weather storms, defeat tyrants, and pioneer freedoms. I'm a writer. Um, because the job that I have, I chose to a large extent because I knew it would put me right smack in the center of the community without without having to be work for a corporation that was so harmful. It was basically the United States government. So essentially, not work for the government and shit on my own morals and ethics to basically get a better paycheck. Which, of course, because I have a record, I couldn't do anyway. But there were other establishments which were not as ingrained in their community. Um, even neutral mentors not coming from a place of recruitment or conversion, religious or institutional, but rather mentoring for personal growth, social stability, and progression, are a nearly extinct form of advisor. Unbelievably, the pursuit for mentors largely has been replaced. Unbelievably, we'll see where this is going. Unbelievably, the pursuit for mentors largely has been replaced by content and content creators. Okay, I don't believe that, and I understand why I said that before. This has been problematic for many various obvious reasons. But if the activist principles are upheld, then receiving true/valid/relevant content should be all that matters, which is why I'm no longer trying to do all this shit. If there's kids in the background making noise, we can just pause for a second. If you want the information, you're going to stay and get it. If you don't, then you don't, and you're already part of the problem and doing your own shit. That's fine. Not to say that we are the solution, but guess what? We are the solution, or at least the content that we're promoting, advocating for, presenting. Community is metaphysical as well as physical. More often, we find like-minded peers in online forums and communities which are not physical places, but enable us to form real bonds in the physical world. Community is based on communication and natural law. Therefore, the tools of the internet stand as the infrastructure for new methodologies and frameworks. We have long existed in a state of competition with our neighbors and community. We are beginning to align ourselves with the principles of the activists for the purposes of redesigning our concept of community. At that level of community activism, we work outward and inward. Excuse me. At the level of community activism, we work outward and inwards. Community activism satisfies our responsibility to co-create our environment and to some extent champion it. Interacting at this level of activism reaches out into space and time, crippling ourselves. Excuse me. Interacting at this level of activism reaches out into space and time, gripping others in its wake. I like to say human beings are unique and sentient beings are unique because we're a force of nature. We can start fires that take out whole forests. No other animal can do that. We can do all kinds of shit. We can extinct species. We can do all kinds. We are forces of nature. Each and every individual, one of us could wipe out a species on this planet if we wanted to. They can't do that to us. And even if they did, it wouldn't be one of them doing it. It'd be all of them doing it. And they wouldn't be doing it consciously, like aware of what they're doing. We are powerful, supposed to be, and that's why they take our power. Our power is that we are forces of nature. What we do echoes in eternity. And that's not like that for any other animals. We're the only ones even taking note. And this is why people are so fond of subjective reality. Like, and I apologize for that sound and motion I just did. If anybody took offense to that in an ableist way, I apologize. Providing on-the-ground grassroots support for others in distress in any way is always more noble. Let me repeat that, because even I didn't get it. And I wrote it. Providing on the ground, which is a term we use to describe activism when you're physically doing it. If you're helping people in a hurricane, etc., you stop somebody from mugging somebody, that's on the ground activism. Picking up trash is on the ground, literally on the pun intended, on the ground activism. So providing on the ground grassroots support for others in distress in any way is always more noble, conscious, and moral than not providing it, or worse, being an opponent to distressed beings in need of support. Community activism also reaches very deep into ourselves, activating trauma and absorbing it like a sponge. Communicating with others in normal ways and in times of need stimulates our imagination, challenges our comfort, strengthens us, and can even sustain us in desolation. Let me read that again. Communicating with others in normal ways and in times of need stimulates our imaginations, challenges our comfort, strengthens us, and can even sustain us in desolation. Meaning, having community bonds is what keeps people alive in like Terminator movies when you look at the future, and like Terminator Salvation, like when you're looking at the actual machines that already took over, the Matrix. It's community that keeps people going. When you see Neo come back and there's 100 people, 500 people meeting him, it's because he is a symbol of their unified community and their unified goals and the advocacy and the activism that he engages in and represents, the rebellion that he represents. This is why community outreach, no matter how corny it is, has been portrayed, this is why community outreach, no matter how corny it has been portrayed in after-school specials like the movie Dangerous Minds, is far more beautiful and important and therefore dangerous. Community activism is how we bridge gaps, formulate friendships, and defend against the many differential advantages that are imposed on us socially, be it arbitrarily or naturally. Interacting in our communities delivers a multitude of energetic frequencies and benefits to the human body and the human condition. Take a look at the TikTok community. TikTok is a community of differing views and perspectives, lived experiences and backgrounds. TikTok content is largely polarized, and yet, when the TikTok community found itself under attack by the US government, the people were galvanized. The community, though diverse and in its adolescence, was instantly unified under the common good, which was the continued use of TikTok. The community is largely not a physical location or physically localized to one part of the planet or another, yet the response was swift and unanimous. Some TikTok users spoke out and have never spoken out about anything before in their lives, but were compelled, as above, so below. Once again, we can relate an environment or community to a single organism. Our community under attack is our bodies under attack, and we are activated like white blood cells. 5 ways to be an activist for community. Communicate, especially when it is difficult. 2, engage in their lives and experiences as a community, but also objectively. Immerse yourselves in their existence, not as it pertains to you and the relationship you're sharing, but as it pertains to just them. Defend your community against all wrong, harm, and injustice. Be available to commune, hang out, travel with, engage with, grow with your community, talk, give advice, accept constructive criticism, be a shoulder to cry on, be kind. Activist for planetary host organism. This one is a lot more fun for me because the other one was more obvious. We end here where we began, as above, so below. The planet Earth, aka Kai, aka Umbalba, aka Gaia, aka Terra, is a living, breathing organism. As we see the self similarities within us, we can relate them to the interconnected attributes on and in the Earth, such as the polarities, the cycles, and the living organisms that execute functions that are vital to the health of the organism. The Earth is not just any organism, she is our host organism, the cradle of all life, our egg in the womb of the source of all things. The Earth is by right, metaphor, and practice the principal foundation by which all things within her are manifested. The earthly body is our host by which we engage in a symbiotic relationship. The plants, animals, bugs, and bacteria all serve several vital functions that contribute to the sustainability and perpetuation of healthy cycles and the planetary body. Human beings are tasked with the highest of celestial responsibilities, which is to facilitate the resonant, harmonious, and necessary evolution of the planet through the evolution of themselves. This then is the highest calling for an activist, to be an activist for their planetary host organism. Similar to white blood cells in the human body, human beings are supposed to activate for the benefit of the host in order to benefit the body or environment. The human being operating in its proper capacity is a force of nature. We are able to manipulate our environments like no other creature on earth. We shape and mold the environment towards the means of equity or evil, the evil of self-destruction. When we practice high order activism by working locally and thinking and empathizing planetarily, we stimulate the planetary body to heal and thrive. The planet has seen all that come and gone. Let me read that again, as I guess I meant it to be written, spoken. The planet, written, read, the planet has seen all that come and gone. I think I meant to put has there. Has, the planet has seen all, I hate repeating words in one sentence though, so that might have something to do with it subconsciously. The planet has seen all that has come and gone. It is the physical keeper of our memories and story. Our host provides without question or regard to king and thief alike. Let me read this, and that's me. My writing. I'm gonna read the last two sentences again. The planet has seen all that has come and gone. It is the physical keeper of our memories and story. Our host provides without question or regard to king and thief alike. To those who respect her, she takes into her bosom. To those who cherish and defend her, she ushers into eternity their names and deeds. To those who are not concerned with her, abuse her, and rather have favored the plastic worlds of man, she mourns you in your potential. Let me read that sentence again. To those who are not concerned with her, the planetary body, our planetary host, abuse her, and rather have favored the plastic worlds of man, she mourns you in your potential. To be an activist for your planetary host organism is what royalty is made of. Let me read that sentence again. Got you. You assaulted me. To be an activist for your planetary host organism is what royalty is made of. And I have royalty in quotes because this is, I'm describing what royalty really is. I'm gonna read it one more fucking time. To be an activist for your planetary host organism is what royalty is made of. By forging and never forsaking the principles of the activist, we perform and play the most vital role as stewards for our mother, the earth. We were never meant to have dominion over the earth. We are meant to protect it, nurture it, and defend it. This means even defending her from other beings who do not share our appreciation for our host. The activist never forgets where they came from. 5 ways to be an activist for your planetary host organism. Be aware of and how much and in what ways you influence your environment. Be mindful of your existence and your existential footprint and carbon footprint. Consume consciously. Reuse, do not litter, etc. 2. Speak out when you see or hear others harming or advocating harm to your planet. 3. Accept that some things are out of your control, but realize so many more things are well within your control. 4. Accept your station and call to this level of activism. It is not an easy path, nor will you be guaranteed anything physical. However, you will be forever honored by the earth and granted celestial abundance. And these parts are observations I made. I cannot say that this is objective truth. These are scientific revelations, scientific awarenesses that have come to light that are backed by historical spiritual axioms. So I'm not making anything up. I'm just putting what the indigenous of the Americas and other continents believed and thought how reality works, and blending it seamlessly with what science says. So yeah, we don't forget where we came from, which is essentially source and earth, the earth, our mother. Number 5, strive for sustainability and equilibrium with your internal and external environments. Literally hug trees. Literally hug trees. Find peaceful resolutions with annoying, extremely ugly, or scary bugs, like the motherfucker I just took off the map just now. The only reason why I did though is because he touched me twice, more than twice. He violated my personal space. Gotta go. I gave you a warning twice. You didn't go away. That's on you. That's natural law, buddy. My karma is literally satisfied. Here we move on to kind of pause and offer the Online Freedom Academy and highlight them, which is TOFA, which I already talked about in the other, the seeds section of the drop-down funding service programs. So I won't go into it again right now. You can refer back to the previous Evolving Seeds live about drop-down. See, and he's still alive. Just went right on by. I must have missed, thankfully. If I nail your ass again, that's on you, buddy. But no, you're on notice. I think I just felt you laying on me again. And it's not even a fly. It's like a gnat. But we keep a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables in here, and we don't let them go bad necessarily. But you know how it is. When they're good, everybody thinks they're good. I'm talking about the fruits and vegetables, not the bug, obviously. Then this moves on to the elementary, where we actually start. So the Activism University used to be called the elementary, but it needed this prerequisite description of what Evolving Seeds is talking about. I developed this particular methodology or concept of looking at what activism really is. The elementary is what is the initiated kind of school, because everything are elementary. Everything is elemental. RY is an element. RY. There is a language that we are recognizing in language that is self-descriptive. So you might hear me say certain words like ignorant. That's a word people that are usually phonetically articulate as ignorant, but they are not ignorant. They are ignorant of whatever we're saying they're ignorant about. So at this time, I'm going to try to prop up. Damn, we've been on for an hour, and right now, I looked just now, we've been on for 1 hour. So I might cut this one right here at the elementary and pick up with the elementary, just simply because I want to do this. And I might actually start breaking these down just into the sections and not the whole drop down. I might have to go back and rename these. But till next time, thank you for being here. Be safe. EvolvingSeeds.com. Check out all other activists and any kind of other promotion or plug I could do right now that you would think follow, subscribe, etc.